Hi, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be installing the RAM in my motherboard, or actually my niece's motherboard. You do need to look in your user's manual for your motherboard to find out which slots to install it in, depending on how many RAM sticks you've got and how many slots you've got. If you've only got 2 sticks and 2 slots, well, they're identical sticks. They should be identical sticks. Never buy... Okay, put it this way. If you buy a set of sticks, your chances that they're going to be fully compatible with each other are basically almost 100%. If you buy 2 separate sticks, they may work flawlessly together, they may not. And generally speaking, buying a set is going to be cheaper than buying 2 different ones. Now, if you can't afford to buy a set and you can only afford to buy just one, and later on you're going to add another one, you can try it. It may work, it may not. Also, another thing you should note about RAM sticks is after installing it, once you've got the computer working, you're going to, it doesn't matter if Windows or whatever operating system you're going to use is installed, you need to go into the BIOS and set up the RAM settings, because it defaults to a slower speed than whatever your RAM actually runs at. So you need to change that. So like for Intel, it's XMP. You want to make sure that you do that. Otherwise, your RAM is going to slow down everything. So we're going to look in the motherboard manual. And I know it's back here. And you can see that the slots each are marked as A1, B1, A2, B2. So we're going to want to put the first pair, or channel A pair. Oh, sorry, they're also called channels. So we have channels A1, A2, and B1, B2. But according to how we install it, that's a little bit different. So the numbers become important for where we install what. So if you have 4, obviously it's all 4. But if you only have 2, sometimes the motherboard will have different colors for the 2 different pairings. But this motherboard, as you can see, is all black. But sometimes one pair will be black, the other will be gray, or one will be red and won't be black, or whatever. It just depends on what the manufacturer decided to do, whether they're trying to do color coordination, color pairing on the whole theme of the motherboard. But this is grayed just so you can see that it's the 2nd and 4th one that are important. So if you're only installing one, you're going to be installing it into the A2 slot, which is this second one here, second closest to the CPU. If, however, you're going to be installing 2, you're going to install them at A2 and B2. So these are 2 different channels, but they work together. If you install it into A1 and A2 or B1 and B2, it's not going to work right. May not work at all, depending on the motherboard. So we're going to be installing the RAM into these 2 slots, the 2nd and the 4th from the CPU, not into the 1st and 3rd. That may not work, depending again on the motherboard. So it's always important to look at this. And sometimes it's a little bit confusing because you can't actually tell sometimes with these images where that arrow is pointing. Some images, it's like this one, it's fairly clear, but sometimes it's like, I'm not really sure. And it can be kind of, it can induce anxiety for some people. So we're going to take out our RAM sticks. And these are G.Skill RipJaws 5 DDR4 RAM. $3,600, and each stick is 32 gigabytes. And when you're going to remove these from this, you can set that aside. The easiest way to get them out, if it's this kind of a package, is just do that. And then you can easily lift it out. Don't touch any of the components or the green, what they call, sorry, not the green, the gold fingers along this edge here. Notice the position of the notch and the notches on the sides, because you don't want to install it the wrong way. So you're going to look here and you're going to look and see, if I install it this way, does the notch match this thing sticking up here? No. So I have to turn it over, and you want to make sure this comes like this. So you're going to want to push down on these. It doesn't matter how many you push down on. You can push them all down, and that's perfectly fine. So you then take it and you get it into the guide channels on the sides here. Push down. Equal pressure on both sides, and you'll see it go in. And then that automatically gets pulled up to lock into place. And make sure that you have installed it fully. You don't want to press super hard, because you could actually crack your motherboard and you won't even see it, because there'll be microscopic cracks that can actually prevent your computer from working right. Now, just like with the CPU, this comes with its own sticker that you can put on the outside of your computer to let everybody know, hey, I've got G.Skill in here. But you don't have to. It's all up to you. So again, we want to make sure we're aligning the notch with that ridge sticking up in the middle there, and it's good. Make sure we get it into the guide slots on the sides. And there we go. That's all it takes to install your RAM. Look at the motherboard, see what the instructions are, and pop them into place. Now, in older computers, it used to be a big problem with this stuff, because as time would pass, the way they had designed the old slots for RAM, you'd actually have this stuff loosening up, and you'd start getting errors. I don't think it happens very much anymore with these newer slots, but if you're ever having memory errors, just go in there and push down on that stuff. You can also try taking it out and using air to blow off any dust that's in the slots, any dust that's on the fingers. Also, if you're installing 2 more RAM sticks here, you have 2 options. You can get another pair of sticks that are exactly identical to this pair. Oh my gosh, I forgot how much I paid for this. This is $420, 64 gigabytes of RAM, not cheap. All right, so you can get another pair that is the same model, exact model as this. You have to be very careful to match the specifications on it. So you have to look at not just the speed, which is megahertz, and that's actually wrong. It's actually mega transfers per second, but almost every company writes megahertz, because people understand that already, because it's been used for marketing purposes for so long that people don't realize it's actually MT/S, or mega transfers per second. Make sure that the cast latency is the same, and all of those other timings are the same. Otherwise, they will not function correctly together. Again, there is a risk that if you install a second pair in here, it's not going to work optimally, and is generally not recommended on Intel motherboards. However, AMD does better with 4 sticks than 2 sticks. So keep that in mind. Better off, if you're going to get 4 sticks, and I don't recommend it, is to buy a set all at once. All right, so that's all we have to do for that one. So that's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy. You do want to make sure that if you're going to be working in your case, make sure at the very least that your computer is turned off and your power supply is turned off. Because sometimes, even though the computer is turned off, the power supply is still sending some electricity to the motherboard. Like, for example, if there are LEDs on the motherboard that light up when the computer is off, you don't want to have power going there, and then you do something and you zap your motherboard because of the power running through the motherboard. So you always want to make sure the computer's turned off and the power supply is either unplugged or turned off as well. And wait a couple of minutes before you start working on it, because even though you've turned it off, there's still power in the power supply for a short period of time in the transformers and stuff. So that's, yeah. There was something else I wanted to tell you, but off the top of my head, I can't remember what it was. So that's enough for this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.